welcome again to the chat. As you know, I love talking to everyone from the wider racing and breeding communities. And joining me today is someone who I've been trying to get on for quite some time, but because of his role as CEO of QMS Media, he's always very busy. John ONeill. G'day, Johnny. How are you, mate?
I'm really good, Benny. How are you, mate?
Very well, thank you. Finally, like I said in my introduction there, I was able to get you on. You're always somewhere.
Yeah, no, it's been busy, but I think you're a bit busier than me, mate. You're pretty active with everyone across the racing industry, and I know everybody appreciates the podcast and the work you do. So, it's a pleasure to join you for a bit of time, mate.
Very much. First of all, where does your love and interest of racing come from?
Oh, look, I think as a youngster, my grandfather was a big supporter of the horses. Not so much owning them, but sort of having a flutter and a punt. So that's a long time ago now. He passed away a number of years ago, and then obviously my dad was a pretty keen sort of racing guy as well. So I probably picked it up there from a young age, and then when I was about sort of 20 or 21, I was quite friendly with a guy called Graham Yates, who played a bit of footy at Melbourne, and Yatesy had a couple of horses with Steve Richards. So I jumped in a couple of horses with him, and that's pretty much sort of where the journey started for me. Had a couple of horses with Steve, and then I met Lee Friedman probably in about 1986, I think, something like that. So giving away my age there, and built a good relationship, and it continued on from there, mate.
You mentioned Lee Friedman. You're on Twitter. It's at Mummify57. Tell me about the ride you had with Mummify.
Yeah, look, he was a wonderful horse. We'd had a few horses with Lee, and I actually went to the Gold Coast sales that year with him, and we bought a couple, and we both decided with Anthony to go to the Adelaide Magic Million sales as well, actually. And I saw this horse with a big buff head sticking over the top as we were about ready to leave, and it was about ready to go through the ring, and by Jeune out of an Italic mare. So, we certainly thought that there'd be an opportunity for the horse to stay, and just sort of built a bit of a relationship with him in the box and pulled him out, and he was a terrific looking horse for me. I loved him. So we went and bought him. Actually, I think we bought him for about, I think Tony Vassell was the underbidder at 40 grand. I think we paid 41 or something. So, we got him back home, and in those days, I was just ringing a few mates to see if they wanted to get in the horses, and we ended up buying about 5 or 6 with Lee that year, and I couldn't sell him. He was the only one we couldn't sell. So in the end, I talked to all my mates after him being in the paddock at least for a while, after about 6 months, to get in him, and the rest was history, mate. He won 5 Group 1s, and we went to Singapore. He won the International Cup, and, he was racing against probably the best of his time in those days with Grand Army and Starcraft, and managed to beat them in a Yalumba Stakes, a Group 1, and at Caulfield, and obviously won the Caulfield Cup and beat Makybe Diva that day, and she went on to win 3 Melbourne Cups after that. So, he was a wonderful horse, had a great temperament, and, it was a tragic loss when he passed away, mate. It was terrible.
Do you have someone that manages your racing and bloodstock interests, similar to what Bray has with Matt Scowen, or J-Mac's brother Luke does for Jerry Harvey?
No, look, we don't. Ozzy Kerr and I now sort of formed an amazing partnership. Oz is a wonderful friend of mine, a sort of a business partner as well as, or a business colleague, as well as a racehorse partner now. And he uses Matt Becker from Group 1 Bloodstock. So I've built a really good relationship with Matty. So when we go to the sales, we obviously rely pretty heavily on Matt and his inspections and the systems that Aussie uses around the world. Matt is heavily involved in making decisions on international purchases for us. Outside of that, I've formed a really close relationship with Will Bourne, who is basically an extension of Batman and Robin, Kieran and David at Kieran Maher Racing. So I have a really close friendship, and I trust his judgment. So I tend to use him a lot. Hence the fact when we bought Coolangatta, he was the one who sort of chose her.
You mentioned Matt Becker. He's a very unassuming, chilled out kind of guy. I actually went to high school with him. He's a couple of years older than me.
Yeah, no, he's a wonderful guy and a really good judge, and he's a great communicator. So he does a lot of work for Aussie and myself in our group, all of our friends behind the scenes, and does a lot of work at the sales for us too when we're looking for younger horses and breeding stock and stuff. Aussie's obviously a lot heavier into the breeding aspect than what I am, and he's bred some really nice horses. But from my position and some of our owners, we're going to get a few mares now. We're buying a few more fillies and giving ourselves a chance to breed some stock, and we'll heavily rely on that and his relationships and Will Bourne's to deliver the results for us, hopefully.
Yeah. You mentioned breeding, John. Have you got your own broodmare band at the moment, or what's the story with that?
No, look, I haven't. And as I said, Aussies spent a lot of money internationally on on group quality mares out of Germany and Ireland, and sent a lot to Frankel, and has had a fair bit of success breeding those and selling them. Only this year, I sort of bought a nice Reduce mare with Wilborn, so I'll probably put her in foal at some stage. We're working through that at the moment, and then I think what we're going to do is with some of the fillies and stuff that we bought really well bred sort of fillies. We'll probably keep some of those and start to breed with some of them. So we've got a good relationship with Merrick Station, actually, which is not far from. I'm lucky to have a place down at Flinders in Victoria. So Benny's a really good bloke down there. They're nice people. They're having a bit of success. Got a beautiful farm. And then, obviously over the years, we've built great relationships at Coolmore and really good relationships at New Haven and Yarraman and a number of other places, even at Adam Sangster's place. So there's always an opportunity with great breeders in Australia to be able to sort of partner up. Arrowfield are the same. We've had a lot of luck with them too. So we're in a position where we'll focus heavily on that. We've got partnerships with Yulong, with Tagaloa. So they're fantastic too. So and probably with Mytho too. Actually, we've got a nice colt with him as well. So we like to sort of spread it around a bit. And I think the quality control across those places that I mentioned, as well as most of the breeding environments in Australia, is just wonderful, mate. So provides good opportunities.
And you're going to be heading over to France at all to see Verry Elleegant. And what was the reasoning behind sending the horse to France?
Yeah, I have to say that there was a lot of meetings done, and obviously the Carters, who were the original sort of owners, with a group of other Kiwi guys and the breeders, they were pretty keen to continue to look at new opportunities for her. Brace Sokolsky was very passionate and was in the horse from day one. So the whole idea was to give her the best opportunity to perform on the world stage. And I think as we sat and looked at it, she won a Group 1 mile race last time in, and then went on to win the Melbourne Cup. She carried, you probably know better off the top of your head than me, 57.5 or 58, I think, in the Melbourne Cup. And then to sort of go back again, she did win by sort of 3.5 or 4 lengths or something. And Incentivise was flying at the time, and Spanish Mission's obviously world-class horse, so he wasn't far away either. We just sort of thought that bringing her back again and having a look at a spring carnival for her probably going to be prohibitive to looking after her. She's probably going to get high 59s, maybe even 60 in a Caulfield Cup. We think that at this stage in her career at 2,400 was the best opportunity for her to perform at her best, and then beyond 2,400 and 3,200, absolutely the best opportunity, as we saw her in the Melbourne Cup. So we just didn't think that there was much in Australia for her. She was going to be weighted out of the Cups races. So the intention was to send her over. There's a number of 2,400, 26, 28, 3,200 metre Group 1 fillies and mares and open class races in Europe. We thought, well, let's send her over. She's now staying in Chantilly in the most beautiful environment, and being cared for so wonderfully well. So it was a push by some of the guys. Unfortunately, not everybody wanted to go on the journey, but that happens from a racehorse scenario. But anyway, she's over there performing well. The tracks look unbelievable. The training facilities are fantastic, and be assured, her condition and her well-being is the focus and the main focus of everybody. So if she's not 100% happy and not 100% tuned in and won't perform at her best, then we won't run her. We'll just she can go around and spend some time over there, and then we'll decide what we do after that. But the indications at this stage are pretty good. Her work's been fantastic. She's settled in well, travelled really well, and I think they're looking potentially to race early August over a mile, a Group 1 in France. So she'll probably run sort of early August, and hopefully if everything goes to plan, she'll have an opportunity to progress through to the Arc. But that'll be run by run, and we'll just see how she feels and how Francis Gerard's happy with her. That's what we're doing.
Away from racing, you're the CEO of QMS Media, and you've always worked in like marketing and advertising. Having a look through your LinkedIn, John, can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, look, I've been lucky. I've been in the out of home in the billboard business for probably 25 or 28 years or something now. I started with the Nettlefold family with Barco, who races a lot of horses in our sort of syndicate group, our friends, and with his father David, who was one of the founders of sort of outdoor in Australia. So it's been a really interesting journey across 2 or 3 different companies over the period, and now we're in a position where we've got a billboard business that's really prominent around Australia. It's predominantly digital. It's probably one of the fastest growing advertising categories. And there's a few challenges over COVID, mate, because obviously people had to get locked up at home and you weren't allowed to go anywhere. But that also created different opportunities for us with local area marketing, because you could go that sort of 5K radius. So we bought a 7-Eleven digital business, and we've sort of been focusing on that. And then we were fortunate enough around 18 months ago to win the illustrious City of Sydney contract, which means we roll out 650 to 680 digital billboards in the CBD of Sydney with all of the bus stops. We replace all the bins and all the seats, and we work really closely with the City of Sydney to make sure that we have a complete communication platform of digital signs. So it's a huge commitment from our partners and the people that are in the business with us. But it's an exciting time for our industry, mate, and we're really looking forward to the next stage when it rolls out about the 29th of August.
And last time we caught up, it was at the VRC members event headquarters live a little while ago now, and I believe you offered a young Edward Cummings a job. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, it's funny actually. Years and years ago, actually, a really good buddy of mine, Les Smith, who was very close with Bart Cummings, and he raced a number of really nice horses, Les, over the years. Won a McKinnon Stakes with a nice staying horse. I can't remember its name now, but so I became really close friends with Les, and obviously got to know Bart reasonably well, and then obviously got to know Anthony. And I was trying to buy a horse off Anthony for Singapore, actually, for Michael Friedman. He rang out of the blue and just said, "Look, I don't think my son likes the horses too much. Do you think you could give him a marketing job?" So I haven't. It was so funny because as you were there on the night, I spoke to Ed about it, and he remembered the call, and so did I. But I hadn't spoken to him since, and we hadn't crossed paths. So it's a long time ago, but geez, he's done a wonderful job, hasn't he? I mean, really difficult shoes to. It was interesting his interview. He doesn't want to try to fill any shoes. He just wants to set his own pathway and take on the experiences he's learned off his grandfather and his dad. So he's got a nice staying horse that will probably be competitive in the Cup, I would imagine. Some of those races going through, and I know he tipped everybody a horse that night because he rang me about 2.5 weeks later and said, "I hope you backed that horse. I tipped you because it definitely won." So so look, he's a good guy, and I spoke to Ozzy, and I sort of plan over a period of time to find a nice horse or maybe get a yearling with him, and because I think he's going to be a wonderful trainer for a long time.
And the marketing of racing to a younger or newer audience, do you feel enough's been done? Because I feel COVID definitely introduced a lot of people to racing, because it was the only sport that was still able to keep going here in Australia.
Yeah, look, it was, and look, I think I think that there's a lot of change in the air. There's been change at the VRC, and there's been change at the Melbourne Racing Club, and I think there's always a lot of good thinking, and the more people that we can get involved to come up with ways to attract people to get to the races and enjoy not only the events that are put on at prime times of the year, but actually to get involved and start to enjoy the horses and the foals and the love of the horse and all that type of stuff's important. So look, I think at the end of the day, there's a fair bit of work going on around entertainment and trying to attract people there. It's a competitive market, Benny. Like certainly in Melbourne, there's AFL football, and there's basketball, and there's cricket, and there's a heap of other things on. I think Melbourne's back, in relation to being that entertainment capital. You've got Grand Prix, and you've got rock concerts, and you've got, Australian Opens, and all of these wonderful things happening. So it's a pretty competitive market. But I think if we continue to build interest around, great food and culture, and we've seen that at Flemington, they've gone out and expanded their sort of food offering, which is really good. And Caulfield had sort of done that originally anyway. But I think anything we can do to get people to enjoy the environment. I certainly know, my partner Joanne, who we've spent sort of 9 years together. She's not a mad racing person, but she comes and supports. But I can certainly get her there if the food quality is good. So that's that's certainly something that I'm sure the race clubs and marketing people and people involved in that are working really hard on. I think the other thing, mate, is the racehorse ownership opportunities. With people communicating differently than they ever have, also enables you to get a different audience to the races. So I'm very close with Kieran and David and their team, as I call them, Batman and Robin, and Gabby in Sydney, and Leanne and Will here. And I think just the profile and the process that they're setting for communication consideration, involvement. Doesn't matter whether you buy a very small share or a big share, everyone gets treated the same. And I think if you can sort of go on the journey when they're born from a foal or from a yearling when you buy them at sales and actually, get to the races and the facilities are right, we'll continue to be in good shape.
And another thing I think with the marketing too is maybe the bit of relaxing of the dress code. And I'd say you're a pioneer in that, Johnny. Where does the idea of the no socks at the races come from with you?
Yeah, that happened in 2003, mate. Actually, I was sitting back trying to come up with something that would change our luck when Mum and I went round in the Caulfield Cup. So I actually took the socks off in the mounting yard, and he won the Caulfield Cup that year. And I've never worn them at the races or with any work attire ever since. Having said that, my partner now does insist I wear them with a pair of runners because otherwise I've got to throw them away every month. So I am wearing some little hidden ones with the runners, but outside of that, mate, I do not wear them. I think they're an overrated garment.
Well, I wear my RM Williams all the time, mate, so I'm always going to put socks on. I'm not going to wear my RMs without socks, Johnny.
I would have thought you'd need to, mate. I would have thought you'd need to.
Aside from racing and business, what does John ONeill like to do in his spare time?
Well, I'm a big Tigers man, a big Richmond Footy Club man. So I really enjoy going to the footy, and I've got some great relationships with a lot of the boys there now, and a lot of the boys are actually in some horses with us, which is really exciting. So Jack Rewalt and Tommy Lynch and Jaden Short and Nathan Broad and Dion Prestia, and the list goes on and on. Kane Lambert, Liam Baker, they're all wonderful guys. Jack Graham. So I'm trying to get Trent Cotchin in, which is hard because he's still got the first dollar he ever had, but I'm doing my best to get hold of him. But look, it's an interesting time. I love the footy. I love to go and do that, and then obviously spend as much time with my partner Joanne as I can. She's quite a big sort of fashiony person and a big foodie, so not necessarily great for my belt around my pants, but I do get to go and enjoy some nice restaurants and different food stuff with her. And then I've got 3 girls. Joanne's got one girl, Tyra, and so she's my daughter too. And I've got 2 other girls, Amelia and Bella. Amelia's 26 and Belle's is 22. So I enjoy to sort of try to catch up with them and family as much as I can, and my mates,
One last one too, Johnny. Are there any horses that you've recently become involved in that we need to keep an eye on heading towards the spring? Because I'll tell you what, all the marketing and everything for the spring, it's starting to come out now. All the clubs are sending out emails to all the members promoting spring.
Yeah, look, we've been pretty busy in the off season, and I say that Aussie's been very busy in the off season, going through some systems, trying to find some horses, and obviously we're going to have Verry Elleegant away this year, which will be interesting to watch her overseas. I would say at this stage, both Hitotsu and Instinctively have both improved significantly from those small concerns they had. Everything's 100% soundness-wise, but I think we'll probably wait to the autumn with them. That'll be up to Kieran and to Peter, but I'd say that's probably what we'll do. They've both been in for a while. They're both up to full galloping and things are great. So I think we just go back and realign and set our goals on the autumn. I'm hoping Coolangatta can step up. She had a wonderful 2-year-old season, probably only second to Gary Portelli's filly who won the Slipper. But, I don't think we didn't handle the track that day. So I look forward to taking that filly on a nice dry track. Peter Mooney's got Spanish Mission that we've got collectively with Bray and our group. So we're looking forward to him stepping up. And we've got a nice staying horse called Interpretation that'll step out this Saturday at Flemington. There's a little bit of floating artist about this horse. He's been trialling well. He's a really nice horse. He rated really highly on our numbers. So we're looking forward to him step up. And we've just bought a nice German staying horse called Loft, which has been heavily backed for the Cup. Won a Group 2 in America last start. It's heading to, I'm pretty sure, the race in France that Marmello, our horse, won, and then he'll come over for the Cup. So Hazy will train him, and we'll be in partnership with Edmund from Hong Kong there. So we're looking forward to that. And then there's a heap of other things that we're working on at the moment that we hope to be able to close. But sort of Sierra Sue's gone to the breeding barn, so she's actually up for sale. And as I said, probably Yonsei will come back. She's looking really good, and we're hoping Marine One and La Don de Vie can do some stuff for us as well as all the yearlings and stuff we bought. So we're in pretty good shape. We've got some nice horses and great relationship with Trent Busselton. So Forgot You's still here. We'll probably set him for the big dance, I think, up in Sydney. So we'll go and qualify him up there for that mile race worth a couple of million, and we'll keep pushing hard, mate, and see collectively if we can we can try to maintain some of that momentum that we built over the last couple of years.
John ONeill, thanks for joining me.
Pleasure, Benny. Look after yourself. Bye, mate.